What's up and welcome back, game devs. This is Dan with You Contribute Games, and we are going to continue our journey into reskinning the nuts and bolts game that's included with the catch game template. We are in the process of converting this from our nuts and bolts game over to a baseball catcher. And so far in this series, we have updated the bucket that the player moves around the screen and catches the falling objects with over to a baseball glove. And we have updated all of the falling objects from nuts, bolts, and screws over to baseballs and gold coins. What we're going to tackle in this video is the fact that our new game doesn't have any bad objects. It doesn't have anything that we don't want to catch. Whereas in nuts and bolts, you have the nuts and bolts that you want to catch, but you don't want to get the screws, because as you catch the screws, your health drops, right? So what do we do in a situation where we don't have anything we don't want to catch and everything that falls in the game should be caught? Well, one simple thought process is, why not adjust the health if you miss an object, right? Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's take a look first at what happens when we don't catch something. Now, within our setup, we actually have this ground object, and the purpose of the ground object is basically a collection bin. It sits right off the screen at the bottom of the screen, and as objects that don't get caught by the player fall off screen, they run into this, and the ground says, you know what, reset yourself and get ready to fall all over again, right? So let's take a look at this in play mode and actually see that in action so you can get the visual. Alright, so as you see the objects fall, boom, bam, pow. As they hit the ground, you can see they start to disappear, and they get spawned back up here. They get reset so that they can be spawned again. Alright. Well, what makes that happen? It's actually the same logic that you'll notice within the glove. Both of them have this collision manager on it. So let's take a look at the collision manager script and see what's happening. If we scroll down within the collision manager script and take a look at the onTriggerEnter event, we can see there's some if-then logic, right? And within this, there's actually two if statements. First, to say, you know, what did you hit? Did you hit the bucket, or did you hit the ground? And if you wind up adding something else to your game that you want to see if you hit, you can add an additional if statement to this, or tweak the ones that are already here. But within both of these if statements, it then does a sub-check to say, well, what hit you? Was it a good egg or a bad egg? Was it something you wanted to catch or something you didn't want to catch? Well, previously, if we caught something we didn't want to catch, it told our game to drop our health. Well, we don't do that anymore because there's no bad eggs. So what happens when a good egg hits the ground? Well, right now, nothing. It simply falls through and gets picked up in our coroutine process, which is going to reset it tells it to reset itself, right? Well, there's a couple things we could do, and all of the logic we would want is going to fit right in here. So there's a couple examples within the script. So you could say, you know, we can back this commenting out, and if we don't catch one of our good eggs and a good egg hits the ground, then it's going to tell it to subtract from the score, which is going to make it harder for the player to increase their level, you know, make the game progress a little slower. So that's one option. But what we want to do is actually the same thing that the game did previously when you collected or caught a bad object. So let's go in here and call we'll call my health manager, and within the health manager we're going to call the take damage function, and we will tell it to reduce our health by 1, which again is the same thing it used to do when we caught a bad object. We'll save that puppy, switch back over to our game. Alright, now that we've made those changes, let's go ahead and pull this puppy back in and give her a test. Everything's still working. We miss one, and the health drops. Health drops. Health drops. We'll catch this one. Alright, so everything's working. Okay, so before we wrap up, I do want to cover one additional thing. If you guys have been noticing at the very bottom of the screen down here, you can see this HDR and multi-sampling anti-aliasing warning. With that, I generally have been ignoring that because it's not too big of a deal, but if that's popping up in your console window as a warning and you do want to go ahead and get rid of it, all you need to do is go to Edit, Project Settings, Quality, and over here in the quality settings you can adjust the anti-aliasing to disabled, and that will get you all fixed up. Well, that about wraps us up. So in this video we have covered the collision manager and how that works for both the glove and the ground. We've updated the gameplay logic so that when we miss one of the balls and they hit the ground, it will actually reduce our health and progressing the game towards a lost condition. And we've also taken a look at how to update the HDR and multi-sampling anti-aliasing warning. And that wraps us up, guys. So tune in for the next video where we're going to take a look at all of the HUD menu options and adjusting the canvases to go ahead and finalize this game. Thanks for tuning in.